Why should I switch versus what should I switch to? I want to start out with a little homage to Christopher Latham Sholes, whom I mistakenly called Charles Lathem Sholes in my last video. I always do that for some reason. I'm always calling him Charles. But anyway, I have a lot of respect for Sholes. As another man I respect, Scott McCloud puts it in his TED Talk, Sholes understood the shape of the future. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the last video, Christopher Latham Sholes is the father of the modern typewriter. And for me, typewriters are just so cool. I had a old Smith Corona till I was about 30, till my wife made me get rid of it, and just that clackity-clack and the hammer making an imprint on a paper. It's just so cool to me. And if you go to typewriter.be, you'll see all kinds of interesting machines that came before and after Sholes. Some really fascinating stuff there. And Sholes himself, really, he went through, according to one article, 50 different versions of his typewriter machine before he even brought it to Remington to produce the first commercial ones. And if you can imagine 50, I mean, just all the metal, the wood, the material, everything, the weight, starting over again and again just to get the right system, the right mechanics. It's pretty incredible. And we talk about the 200 revisions that we went through to get to modality, and that's true. But even then, a lot of the revisions that we had were on paper. They never even made it to any code. So yeah, we worked really hard at modality as well over the course of a year, but I don't think any of us appreciates or really knows what they had to go through to get to where they got with those first typewriters. And the other thing about Sholes, he had to work through both the mechanics as well as the letter arrangement to get to what he got to. And even though there are some questions that I personally have about the letter arrangement, the QWERTY system he developed, which is named QWERTY, the top rows of the key QWERTY, is really quite nice and useful. Obviously it is, because it beat out a lot of competitors, and we're still using it 150 years later. So again, if he were here, we would love to shake his hand, say, good job, Mr. Sholes. You did something really, really important, and you did a good job that's lasted all this time. Now, at Joyful Machines, we believe that we are carrying on that tradition of Mr. Sholes, and he didn't even necessarily start it himself. Again, there were machines before him. Tradition may even go as far back as Gutenberg, depending on how you look at it. But we believe that Sholes, if he saw our work, would applaud it and potentially maybe even want to take part of it. That's because I believe he would be one of the first to recognize, probably before any of us, the inherent problems of putting a 10-finger system on a device. And it's just like, there were systems that in his day didn't work. You know, one of his predecessors was this machine that spun in a wheel and just had the letters of the alphabet around it, and it didn't work. And then there's this early edition that literally looked like a piano. It had ivory and ebony keys, and it had the alphabet just kind of going across like a piano, and it didn't work, and he rejected all that until he got to something that did work. Now, if I say to somebody that the QWERTY system, as great as it is, doesn't really work on the phones, a lot of times people immediately retort, well, yes, it does. It's been working on our phones for 10 years. And that's true. But we're putting a lot of energy, a lot of thinking, and a lot of code towards doing things that will make it work on our phones, as opposed to using that energy and that time and that code to really thinking through and inventing something that is specifically suited to the device. This is a crucial point. People will muscle through something that really was not intended for the place that it's put now. And we appreciate all the efforts that Google and Swipe have done to make it work. But the opposition we get to trying something new or different like modality is staggering. It's like somebody uses it for literally 2 minutes and then it's like, it sucks. I want to challenge you to switch that thinking around a little bit. Rather than thinking, why should I switch? Take the idea of, what should I switch to? Because the change is coming, it's inevitable. And if we could save you all kinds of time and productivity, all kinds of level of comfort on your device, would you be willing to try it? Or would you wait around for someone else to tell you, or 10,000 people in your favorite community to like it? Well, we don't have 10,000 users yet, but I can tell you that I am the person telling you about it. And I don't just come from nowhere. I taught school for 9 years in the United States and China. I taught typing, and I wrote all kinds of curriculum and all kinds of theories about it. I play the piano, which is the exact same technique as typing on a keyboard, or pretty close to it anyways. Now, I'm not a salesman, but I do know how to tell the truth, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm telling you the truth. I know that there are better ways to type on your devices, ways that are more comfortable, ways that are more suited to the device they're made for, and yes, even faster. Modality is one such method. But let me detail again the reasons that QWERTY doesn't really work on the phone, much less tablets and other devices. One, you have to go all over the screen. And to type simple words like and the, you're literally all over the place. Why? Two, QWERTY has a letter arrangement that you can't even really remember, or at least most people can't, some people can. But even if you can, what's the point? Because it's based on the idea of muscle memory, where it's like, yeah, I don't know where the letters are, but I can get there. And that's true. But on a phone or a device, you really should be able to memorize it. Three, at least on the phones, a lot of people use two thumbs. And that's kind of funny because it's the exact opposite of the computer keyboard, where both your thumbs are relegated to one key, the space bar. And that's because thumbs can be clumsy and inaccurate. Four, it's necessary to look at what you're doing. And in my ideal typing system, you don't have to look. Just like good typists don't look at the keys. Five, hoping that the text corrector will be correct, which it often isn't. This is one of those examples of places we've thrown gobs and gobs of code at it. And even then, though it's improved quite a bit, we're still not correct a lot. And six, those keys are just too darn small. Even on the iPhone 6 and 7 or the phablets, you know, you're putting 10 buttons across to write the top row of a QWERTY keyboard. QWERTY UYOP is what I call it, but 10 buttons, and that's a lot. And you tend to miss a lot. And it even gets worse because you've got U and I and O right next to each other. So words like lost, list, lust can get confused, T and Y. And it just makes it rather difficult to discern between words. But here's the thing, even if people aren't willing to switch on their phones for productivity reasons, which again we don't understand, but here's the deal, the switch is coming one way or another. Watches, Samsung tried for a while to put a full QWERTY keyboard on their watch, and they quickly abandoned that. TVs, everybody hates typing on TVs, gaming consoles, any sort of future technologies, people with limited movement. And what's starting to happen is people who are trying out our Samsung Watch modality are also picking it up on their Android phones. And we think that it's a really good system, and people are, once they use it on their watch, they're understanding, oh yeah, I could use this on my phone as well. I opened this video with a hearty nod to Christopher Latham Sholes. He seemed to be, for my best reading, not only a great thinker and inventor, but a great man as well. But I can't imagine that he would see what we're doing and be happy with that. I think that he would want to see something new and different and suited to the device that we're using. See, his problems were primarily mechanical, and ours are primarily digital. But we're all trying to do the same thing, connect and communicate with other humans. So what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to kind of wait until technology finally forces us into something new? Or are we going to reach out and embrace what is new right now? Even while there's still time to embrace it, get a little ahead of the people who want to stay behind. Listen, Joyful Machines and some of the others who are doing similar things, we all see that the change is coming. And we're trying to make that transition as easy as possible. Modality is really pretty easy to learn. So are some of the others, to be honest with you. We teach the modality layout in 31 seconds. But you've got to make the switch, and you've got to be open-minded about it. We want to move forward, and moving forward is a lot easier when people join in, respond to us, give us some feedback. There are a few people who have reached out to us already and given us some feedback, and we really appreciate that. So again, the challenge, stop asking why should I switch and start asking what should I switch to. The change is inevitable anyways. We just ask that you embrace it with us. We think that you'll be glad that you did.